Alright, hello Riven mains and Yasuo mains alike. I'm the Nightwing coming at you guys with another League of Legends video. So there's a big giant hypothetical going around that could Rogue from the LEC take down TSM. I think that in a best of 5, there's a lot to judge off of. You know, you had a lot of the coaches saying 8 out of 10 times Rogue would beat TSM. That's a lot, and I don't really personally think that would actually be the truth, given the fact that it's definitely not going to really affect too much in terms of if you actually think about the match in a true hypothetical. So let's say these teams face off in a best of 5. It's semifinals of Worlds. You know, they just got through a very, very hard quarterfinal matches. You know, Rogue upset somebody. TSM finally, you know, upset somebody in anything in their League of Legends career. And, you know, these two teams are pitted in a best of 5 at Worlds. It doesn't matter what year this is. It's not going to happen this year because obviously Rogue is not going to make Worlds, so it doesn't really matter. And TSM is pretty much going to make Worlds this year. And that should already say right there, you know, which team is better if you're making it to Worlds, which is the prime goal of a lot of teams, you know, in League of Legends competitive scene. So you have to think about micro, macro, the team itself, coaching, their style, and just overall strengths of the team, which lanes they play through, which lanes they don't really play through, looking at certain gank patterns, and looking at just a ton of things as to equivalating why Rogue would beat TSM. And I'm going to just say, before I even start talking about all that stuff, is that Rogue is not going to beat TSM. And I know people are going to be like, oh, you're NA bias and stuff like that. I don't even like TSM. I mean, they're here. They're cool and all. They have some pretty cool players every once in a while. They got my boy Smoothie. You know, I like Smoothie. He used to be on Cloud9 back in the day. And obviously, I like that guy a lot. But, you know, everybody else I'm kind of just iffy about. Broken Blade's pretty cool. You know, and today, at the time of me recording this video, we're actually going to go to the LCS. So I'll be seeing the TSM boys anyway. They're going to be playing up against, I'm pretty sure, they play FlyQuest, I think. So that's gonna be a pretty hard matchup for them, obviously, because FlyQuest is obviously the best team in North America. I'm just kidding. I don't really know who TSM plays. I only cared about who Cloud9 is gonna play, and Cloud9 is gonna play 100 Thieves, and they're going to easily win, even though they actually lost before. So yeah, I don't even think that Rogue would, if they played an actual best of 5, let's say in my scenario of like a World semifinals, I think that TSM would literally 3-1 or 3-0 them. Yeah, that's how bad I think they would lose to TSM. And if they played in a best of 5 right now, I'm still pretty sure TSM would 3-1 or 3-0 them. And I do believe Rogue would be a good practice partner for TSM because I do believe their styles are kind of similar in some aspects. But here's something a lot of people don't understand is that most of the Rogue players right now used to play in the Ultra Liga. That is a completely different beast from actual competitive League of Legends. And you saw that. It took a while for them to adjust to that. And, you know, they still have these weird Ultra Liga, you know, EU master tendencies of, you know, over pushing, overextending, trying to always overcommit for something. That's something that I've constantly seen from them, and it's something that TSM has also had a fault too. You know, they're always playing a little bit too slow. Rogue can play faster than TSM. But if you just look at the overall player-to-player strengths, which is going to be a big deciding factor as to the reason why they would actually have an edge over Rogue and pretty much dismantle them, is because it's not really too much fair to base it off of just both matches in general. I do feel like that there's a clear distinction as to the reason why I would heavily favor TSM in a best of 5 against Rogue, just because the fact that this man right here, Bjergsen, you know, I went to the Cloud9 versus TSM semifinals last spring split. One of the best, my first ever best of 5, and I loved it. I sure did not like when Cloud9 got reverse swept. A taste of your own medicine, as you would say. But that series alone just should show any person watching League of Legends what a actual threat Bjergsen is in a best of 5, in anything that is not a best of 1 for League of Legends. And a best of 1, he's also really good. And I feel like Bjergsen is just a much better player than everybody on Rogue in general. Larson is showing a little bit of promise right now. He's got a little bit to really grow through. He's a very new player to the scene. But we saw this with Bjergsen when he played up against a lot of new players. He just dismantles them. We saw that with Jensen when he first came into the league. It wasn't even close. We saw this with Caps when Bjergsen faced Caps at Rift Rivals in 2017. Bjergsen dismantled him. And we see that with a lot of the newer players he's able to face against. He's done this to a lot of the newer players in the North American LCS when they've came up to the stage and plays well. Bjergsen is just an absolute monster in terms of, if you actually look at just his own individual performance, he's better than every single member on the Rogue lineup. So that is going to be, I think, an overwhelming factor to the reason why Rogue would not be able to beat TSM because of Bjergsen in general. I think Bjergsen is just too big a factor to really put the edge in favor of Rogue. But in everybody else's case, it can be kind of debatable and kind of even. Let's start with the bot lane, which is what I think a lot of people say that might be a strength of Rogue. I don't even think so. I think that it's literally just a support, and then I still think Sven, even on his bad days where he doesn't look like he's just basically like running it down mid, I still feel like he's better than both of the Rogue ADCs. Like, you're telling me that Sven would lose to Hikyu? That's crazy. You're telling me that Woolite would beat Sven? That's also ridiculous. Come on, guys. Just because he has some bad days here doesn't mean he's just worse than his overall form. He used to play in Europe. He knows how he knows how to beat European players. They obviously did do it at Rift Rivals when they won that one game against Fnatic, and obviously he used to play in Europe for a very long time. So he's very, very familiar with how the weaker European players play. He used to style on them all the time. I feel like that Sven, on his worst days, is just much better than both of the Rogue ADC players, even if they were to try swapping. Vander to Smoothie would be very even. I feel like Smoothie isn't having a standout split like he used to have back when he was on Cloud9. I feel like I'll actually give that favor into Rogue in terms of the support. Vander's actually been playing pretty well, all things considered. He's more of a shining bright point about the team. I feel like that he's come into his own form more recently, playing with all of these young dedicated players of the game. And then you go up to mid lane. I'm pretty sure I've already went over the reason why Bjergsen would easily just dismantle Larson. I don't even think it's even fair for him. Yeah, he's had some good performances, but I think that you can't just discredit how strong Bjergsen is as a player. That's like going into a match and not thinking about Faker. That's ridiculous. The Fakers back in the day was such an overwhelming presence in the game that it just made winning that game even harder. And I feel like that'll be the exact same thing for what Rogue would have to deal with if they were to face TSM. Now you look at the jungle. Let's go with who's the jungler is Inspired and Acadian. Since TSM has now settled on Acadian. Inspired's actually pretty good. Acadian's not had that great a split. He's had like one good split his entire career. I do feel like I'll actually give the favor toward Inspired in this case. Actually, I feel like he's been a lot stronger overall this split. You know, a lot of the games Acadian lost, he didn't really look like he knew what to do. He didn't really feel like he could play through any lanes. Inspired looks like to be a player that, you know, is Inspired looks like to be a jungler that looks like he knows what to do. He's always going to every single lane immediately, pathing correctly in order to actually get there. His champion pool is pretty linear at the moment, but I think that can just easily override anything Acadian would bring, because I feel like Acadian in general is just only playing like three champions anyway, and Inspired is doing the exact same thing, so it doesn't really matter personally. Okay, you have the top laners. You have Prophet and Broken Blade. This is actually a pretty interesting match, and I feel like it's wildly a lot more even than a lot of people give it credit for. Prophet's not been playing bad. Broken Blade has also not been playing as good as he was in spring. But overall, if you're looking at just the high impact of the ceiling of both players, I feel like that Broken Blade, we don't know exactly how strong he can be overall in a best of 5 in terms of facing a stronger EU team. But we saw that, and I think a lot of people just kind of missed that. It's like we saw him face EU caliber top laners, and he didn't really look that good, you know. So, but a player like Prophet is like, you know, I feel like I can maybe give a slight edge to Broken Blade, but I think in terms of overall team fighting and a team impact, I feel like Prophet kind of wins it on that. It's actually a lot more closer if you actually really look at it in terms of actual micro level, I feel like Broken Blade is more flashy, while Prophet is more standard. You know, if you kind of can follow that. Looking at macro on both teams don't really play good macro at all. Micro is debatable because, you know, each game is going to be dependent on what champion they have. Personally, in terms of macro, I feel like they're actually more similar. You know, they play fairly standard. Rogue is just a little bit faster, which might give them an edge in the one game that I actually gave them. But once I feel like TSM figures them out in that one game, I feel like they'll just completely steamroll them the rest of the games. I feel like overall they have the stronger players in general. I feel like that if you look at coaches, you have Zix, and is it Rogue's coach still Freddy? Yeah, I don't really know if that's really an exact judge, because, you know, coaches, you can't really judge coaching because you don't exactly know what they're actually providing to the team overall, and that's kind of just it. Like I said before, if they're playing an actual best of 5, I feel like TSM would not have too much trouble with them in general. People want to look at the point and go like, well, they beat Fnatic. Well, Fnatic played Rengar top and Reckless was subbed out, and they played Nemesis bot lane. Like, did Rogue really beat an on-form Fnatic, though, is something you really have to really say to yourself personally. And yeah, I do feel like Rogue has a lot of good things about them. They're probably going to most likely make playoffs to split in the LEC, because the LEC teams, some of them right now have just been falling apart. So I feel like that's a good thing for them. But right now, I think the powerhouses in TSM, you know, as much as they scrim, as much as Bjergsen tryhards, you know, in every single game he plays, even in best of ones, I feel like it's too much of a gap between him. I feel like him as a player is so much better than everybody else on Rogue that it just makes that much a difference. But that's it, guys. Who do you think would win out of Rogue versus TSM in this hypothetical best of 5? Actually, I'm saying TSM win 3-0 or 3-1, because you obviously got to throw Rogue a game, because, you know, obviously upsets and drafting better and playing games out early game a lot better can be a big factor as the reason why a lot of these things can happen. So see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe, most of all enjoy. I'm the Nightwing signing out. See you guys later. Bye. Have a good day.